There was a time when Kenya's retail landscape was dominated by a single supermarket chain, a chain so influential that its downfall sent shockwaves through the industry. Uchumi Supermarket wasn't just a place to shop, it was a symbol of national pride and economic potential. But what led to the collapse of this retail giant? Was it a series of unfortunate decisions, internal corruption, or fierce competition? Join me as we unravel the captivating story of Uchumi Supermarkets, from its meteoric rise to its dramatic fall. Be sure to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Alright, let's get started. Uchumi Supermarket was founded on November 17, 1975 as a public limited liability company by three Kenyan parastatal companies: Industrial and Commercial Development Corporation (ICDC), Kenya Wine Agency Limited, and Kenya National Trading Corporation. All three entities were owned by the government. Their main objective was to create outlets for equitable distribution of commodities and to support Kenyan manufacturers by providing retail outlets for their products. In 1976, Uchumi opened its first store on Aga Khan Walk in Nairobi. This wasn't only their first store, but the very first self-service store during a time when most retail was through over-the-counter kiosks. To ensure the success of this new venture, Uchumi's shareholders signed a contract with Standard SPA, an Italian supermarket chain, to train Kenyans to run the new enterprise. The partnership was to help Uchumi establish a robust operational framework and set the stage for its future growth. Unfortunately, investigations revealed that Standard was only managing Uchumi on paper. The place was overstaffed and employees were actively looting the business with no management. Despite offering good products at affordable prices, Uchumi's business model wasn't making any money. By 1980, Uchumi had made a loss of 6 million shillings, with total losses amounting to 23 million shillings over the first 5 years under Standard management. To address these issues, Uchumi brought in Suresh Shah, a revival expert and manager at ICDC. Shah managed to turn around Uchumi's fortunes, cutting losses to 250,000 shillings in his first year, albeit at the expense of 70 out of 225 workers. This decision proved to be the right one as Uchumi experienced some of its best years over the decade. In 1992, the government decided to sell 40% of its stake. Uchumi underwent privatization and was listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, now known as the Nairobi Securities Exchange, on 14th August, becoming the very first supermarket in Kenya to be listed. Shares were distributed to the public, employees, and institutional investors. This move was aimed at injecting capital into the company to fund further expansion and modernization efforts, while also allowing Kenyans to become shareholders and participate in the company's growth. During this period, thanks to competent management, Uchumi was in its best position ever, with profits exceeding 150 million shillings and annual turnover growing to 1.2 billion shillings. The company's success was a source of pride, with staff content, employment opportunities growing, and essential goods readily available. With other chains like Tusky and Nakumatt expanding, in 1997, Uchumi started their nationwide expansion as well. In December 13, 2001, ICDC seconded Kirubi to chair the board of directors at Uchumi. The government had divested its stake in ICDC, and Kirubi was amongst the tycoons who bought into the investment firm, thinking it was a good investment. Kirubi had bought 5% of its shares by 2005. During Kirubi's tenure as Uchumi's board chairman, the expansionist drive pushed the company off the rails, making it, for the first time, hard to pay suppliers. Kirubi blamed the near collapse on the expansion plan, The expansions increased profit, but what also increased was the cost of operation of the 6 new branches. By 2004, Uchumi had taken loans of 3.6 billion from 1997 to 2004 to fund their expansion. The branches weren't well researched, and that led to them never being profitable. At the same time, poor management meant no money was being raised internally and employees were stealing from the firm. What sank the retailer, though, was the decision by Kirubi's team to request funds from shareholders through its rights issue in 2005. The money was supposed to go into expansion, but ironically, Kirubi and ICDC sold their share during the rights issue. The 1.2 billion raised was channeled to loss-making Uganda and Tanzania branches. By this time, Uchumi was still in debt and suppliers weren't paid. One of the company's assets was sold. The building that hosted Uchumi on Aga Khan Walk was sold to Algate for 147 million in a desperate move to raise cash and hide losses. It turned out later that the building was worth a lot more, and the building was leased back to Uchumi for an extortionate 1.7 million per month for rent. In June 2005, Kirubi resigned from Uchumi, leaving South African John Marston Smith to deal with the issues. An audit by the Trade Minister Mohisa Kitui exposed poor record keeping, which helped the theft situation by both workers and managers. For instance, the number of goods claimed to be supplied differed from what Uchumi had in their inventory. Books were also cooked, and the inventory department was corrupt. By 2004, the company reported a loss of 257 million shillings, which ballooned to 957 million shillings by June 2006. This financial strain led to the sudden closure of all Uchumi stores on 1st June 2006, marking the first major crisis in the company's history. Uchumi was put under receivership and the NSE suspended trading of Uchumi shares. This incident shone a spotlight on one of the few business failures of Chris Kirubi's life. Kitui was committed and convinced Kibaki to revive Uchumi. After Uchumi was put under receivership, efforts were made to ensure someone paid for the mismanagement. The government gave Uchumi a 675 million shilling loan to address the demands from creditors. Jonathan Siano was picked to lead the revival efforts. Chris Kirubi was taken to court in 2008 for the sale of Aga Khan Walk land for less than its value, but was acquitted in 2011. By 2010, Uchumi had come out of receivership thanks to the bailout, and the acting CEO Siano was confirmed as the new boss. It seemed like Uchumi was back on track, and investors started to regain confidence. A 2014 rights issue raised another 900 million shillings, and some suppliers agreed to continue to provide goods for Uchumi. A year later, after the rights issue, Siano was dismissed for gross misconduct, and it was discovered that not only was Uchumi still making losses, but they weren't paying their suppliers. An audit revealed an even bigger mess than in 2005. The then chief of staff was accused of having 2 books to conceal the hole Uchumi was in. Uchumi reported a loss of 500 million shillings, but the real figure was actually 1.9 billion shillings. As for the 2014 rights issue, investors were lied to again. The 900 million shillings was earmarked for operational costs, but was used to pay suppliers, basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. In August 2015, Julius Kipngetich was appointed as the new CEO, with hopes of steering the company back to profitability. Mr. Ngetich is credited for turning around the fortunes of KWS, which was almost collapsing under the weight of mismanagement and corruption. He implemented several cost-cutting measures, including closing unprofitable branches. However, these measures were not enough to stabilize Uchumi's finances. The closure of the branches in Embu, Eldoret, Nakuru, and Kijabe, amongst others, reduced Uchumi's footprint significantly, leaving it with only 20 branches, down from 38 in 2015. Kipngetic's tenure saw attempts to restructure the company, but he resigned in November 2017. The National Treasury released a 700 million shilling rescue package that year, but Uchumi's financial woes continued. Mohamed Ahmed Mohamed took over as interim CEO, and Andrew Dixon briefly served as the chief operating officer in 2018. By 2020, Uchumi's debts had exceeded 5 billion shillings, leading to the closure of multiple stores, including all operations in Uganda and Tanzania by June 2018. On July 1st, 2020, Uchumi's CVA, Company Voluntary Agreement for Debt Settlement, was approved, marking another attempt to stabilize the company. Creditors agreed to take a 3.2 billion shilling loss and convert the rest of the debt to equity as a solution to save Uchumi once again. As of the latest updates, Uchumi remains operational but continues to face significant challenges. The company has made more strides in settling debts and reviving stores, but the path to full recovery is still uncertain. Leadership changes, market dynamics, and ongoing financial constraints will play a crucial role in determining Uchumi's future. As Uchumi strives to regain its former glory, it remains a symbol of resilience and enduring spirit of Kenya's retail sector. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video, and until the next one, I'm out. Cheers.